Hello everyone, I'm sorry for disappearing on all of you like that for so long after I had supposedly come back to this realm, but many things happened. And no, sadly, I was not taken back to my planet or anything like that, like my dear friend Annie suggested. I just wanted to let you know that this will be my final automatic writing experiment in the format I was doing it until now. I try new things, like with the David Wilcock on, and I really liked the result, so I wanna repurpose my channel in a way I think you'll all enjoy. Basically, I still don't know if all my yaws are just my imagination playing tricks on me or not, and I grew tired of feeling that way, never having certainty or confirmation on what's going on, so I decided to stop guessing and just accept things as they are. So, my next step for this channel will be to follow the steps of Graham Hancock, and just make my next videos be only a sci-fi type of adventure. If what I'll be sharing with you is science fiction or not, it's something you'll have to decide, but at least you'll have the option, and you'll still have the chance to ask questions, that's for sure. Before I go on with my final off, I really want to thank from my soul to the one person who actually made me a donation through my blog. I'm not giving out your name, because you never asked me to, and I want to respect your privacy. I just wanted to say that your help came just at the right moment and that I truly really appreciate it. You gave me the motivation to come back here today and restart work on this channel, so thanks so much for that. And so, this is my final off. I compiled all the questions left in my questions video, but if for some reason I didn't include your question here, please don't feel left out. There will be more chances to ask questions soon, and in a format which I feel will be fun for everyone, especially for me, so please be on the lookout for that. Question: approximately how long after ascension will we start healing? And will ascension be a gradual thing or will it happen in one day?
Answer: ascension is already taking place, even if you don't realize it yourself. We have said in previous contexts that ascension is not what you think it is, so it will not be the same for everyone. If you're talking about physical health, it's many in your planet who are already doing better, who never need to go see a doctor, and whose well-being has improved. But of course, this is not the case for everyone. You have to consider your own spiritual evolution, and we don't say this in a demeaning manner, as we don't even hold that type of concepts. The more you are evolved in your own quest, the better you'll receive the new energies available to you to heal your body. So to answer your second question, ascension will happen in different ways to different people. It will be gradual for some, but for others, it will just happen in 1 second. It really depends on each particular person.
Question: will we be able to fly and even create cars after ascension? For those who have ascended. And I mean fly like Superman.
Answer: your question is amusing. Why would you need a car if you can fly like Superman? We always appreciate when some fun element can be added to these contacts. Our conduit tends to be real serious and sometimes maybe even somber about this. But fun is the main factor you should all keep in mind when dealing with your daily situations. As per your questions, once you have ascended, you won't need to fly. You will be able to be wherever you want with just thinking about it, which makes this a little hard to respond. If you want to physically fly like your example, Superman, yes, indeed you will be able to do it, but it won't be necessary, since reality in itself will be different to what it is now. In other words, the reason you would like to fly now, won't be there anymore when you have ascended. The sensation you are looking for right now with the idea of flying, will be supplemented by something else. But we can say, yes, there will be ways you can fly with your body, if that's what you choose to do.
What exactly is a black hole in space? And if you get sucked in, what happens? Will the Mars rover Curiosity find any ancient civilization artifacts or life? Will we go back to the moon? If so, when? And, will Atlantis rise again? If so, when?
Answer: great deal of questions. We will go through them one by one. Black holes. You may not like our answers, because we have said it many times before, but things are not what you think they are. With that said, black holes are not real, at least not in the sense your scientists think they are. But if you want an actual answer you could work with, black holes are portals to other universes. It's almost like if you pouch a hole through a sheet of paper. Through that hole, you have access to another space, but of course, it's not something you could use right now in your actual state. Therefore, you can't really get sucked in. To face a black hole, you'd have to be something else entirely. If you're talking about a black hole possible swallowing your galaxy, if that happens, a whole set of new events will take place just before that happens. There's a reason we're all up here around this planet. We wouldn't just stand there and watch that happen to you all too. Curiosity is a curious thing in itself. It is there, possibly, collecting data, but more than anything, it's not something you should be concerned with. It's just a preparation for something bigger, which may have something to do with a possible alien disclosure. We can't make the prediction that it will find an ancient civilization and that this fact will bring disclosure, but it's not something we would discard. It may be just one fact in a series of things needed to bring disclosure to Earth, so do keep an eye on this, that is for certain. 3. Who says you haven't been back to the moon? You have been told that no other manned missions have gone to the moon, but that's just what you've been told. That's all we'll say about it. About Atlantis, it's not a place, but a situation. It's one of those things we have a hard time explaining, since our conduit can only understand human language for now, or rather, he can express only in human language for now, but we can say, Atlantis is there used to be an Atlantis on Earth, and it's gone now, but it may come back. But it's not a place. Again, that's all we feel safe saying.
Question. I keep hearing and reading that many of us visit GFL's ships during our sleep. Well, when we do so, do we go dressed as we are in bed at the time, or do decent clothes suddenly materialize? What about those who choose to sleep naked, for example? Surely they can't go on board any ship like that. Or what about those who have false teeth and take them out before bed? Do they arrive toothless?
Answer. Like we said before, we always appreciate amusing questions such as these. The Galactic Federation of Light is something we have tried to avoid talking too much about in the past, as that's not its real name. In a way, you could say we are part of the GFL, but since that's not its real name, we're not, and like we mentioned very early in this communications, me and my group are not in that group, even though we're part of the overall idea of it. It's not so much that you go to GFL ships when you sleep, it's mostly what they make it available for certain individuals. Sometimes you can go places just as a hologram, without a physical body, and still interact and have some functions when you're there. But sometimes, actual bodies are provided to you when you do these visits. In other words, the GFL may have like 20 physical bodies with no soul occupants in them. And when someone visits them, they just use one of these bodies while they're on their ship, then they leave that body there when the soul goes back to the body. We feel that answers most of your questions.
Question. I guess, like everyone else, I'm both just really curious and anxious to know what ascension will entail, and whether things will be noticeably different and for the better, and not simply the same, unless we go within ourselves to seek any difference. With ascension, will we be able to shift through solid surfaces like brick walls or even steel? I guess my question is about that block on us. Who is putting these in place? Who is it so important to that we remain unaware of this incredible realm? I guess my question would be, are the places and beings real? In dreams?
Answer. We have said before, that what is understood by ascension, is not what most of you think it is, but since you actually asked what ascension is, all we can answer is that it will be a different process for different people. You are too used to living in one reality, that you forget that so many of them exist in the universe. Therefore, if ascension for you is turning into a being of light, that's what ascension will be to you, but for other people, ascension will be something different. If you're talking about ascension being transcending your body, then of course, you'll be able to go through walls, steel, everything. But you will not need to. What happens in your current reality is that you and millions of others agree in what goes on in that reality. You and millions agree you cannot go through walls and steel, therefore, you can't. Because that's the reality you have all agreed to. Once you have ascended, You will be among a very different group of people. If you all agree that you can go through walls, then that's what you'll be able to do. But needless to say, you won't need to go through walls, because if you want to, there won't even be walls after ascension. About things being real and dreams, the question is too ambiguous. We can say, they're as real as you perceive them to be. Dreams are too many things to lump them into just one category, so we'd need more detailed question to answer this properly.
Question. Could it be that your answers get interpreted in a wrong way, because my brain has a limited capacity and because we are communicating in English? Someone actually made this question for me.
Answer. It's not that our answers get interpreted wrong by you or not, there's just so much we can tell you without overloading your brain. We never mean to demean, but imagine you're in 1994 using a 14K modem, and we're sending you information on a 50 meg connection. You couldn't receive all that info at once, so you interpret what your brain allows you to, and we know that many things we try to communicate to you, you actually receive them, but your brain doesn't have the ability to express them, and even if it did, your viewers wouldn't be able to understand what you're trying to express.
Question. I am sorry to question you, but could you tell me what I did yesterday, as proof that you are me in the future? I tried to take into account that you told me that the future, present time and past happen at the same time. Another question someone made as if they were me.
Answer. That would be pointless, because if I wanted to know what you did yesterday, I'd just have to access your brain, and the information would be there, so that would be no proof at all. If the actual question is, how can I prove I am you in the future, then we would just refer to a previous answer we gave a long time ago. The time will come when we'll be face to face. For the time being, the safest situation for you is to believe we're just figments of your imagination. Otherwise, your life would be altered beyond your means and you would fail in your actual mission for your current timeline.
Question. I once asked you if there are evil extraterrestrials. You told me that the concept of good and evil is not as how humans know it and that I cannot comprehend this. Could you try to explain this, so that I can tell you myself if I can comprehend it or not? Final question someone asked on my behalf.
Answer. Good question actually, we're glad someone asked it for you. But it still goes back to what we said recently. It's hard to explain terms that do not exist in your current reality, but we will do an attempt. You tend to lump good with the light, and evil with darkness. So, if something comes from the light, then it's good, and then if it comes from the dark, it's evil. We don't see it like that. To us everything is events, everything is something, as ambiguous as that may sound, everything is therefore, if something is from the light, to us, is light. If anything comes from darkness, to us, it's dark. We don't judge it, which is what you normally do. We don't go either thinking that something from the dark is good, or something from the light is bad. That would be backwards. We just don't see what you see in that aspect. Evil and good do not exist for us. That's why it's even hard for us to explain it. It's just not something that exists in our reality.
Question. Way in the past when I still lived with my parents, I was starting to fall asleep, when I saw an image of a girl with blue skin. I think it was a more darker blue and I think brown hair. I saw her smiling and saying hi, or something similar. It seemed as she was standing in front of a webcam. It was surprising and a bit scary and it quickly disappeared because of the shock. I tried again later and saw a more light blue, skinned boy. He had light brown hair, in spikes like in an anime or the game Final Fantasy P. I think behind the controls of the ship. He was smiling broadly and when I think of it the interior was more white. I feel like it means something and that especially the first flash was a space buddy, contacting me. And do you do a meditation before you contact your future self?
Answer. What we can say about your vision is that it's something that exists in your reality, and for that, you should try to contact your own future self, guide, or whatever you want to call it, to figure out what that vision was. We will just say that it's many of us in the future who are trying to contact our past selves, so, it's more than likely that what you saw is something along those lines. We feel it would be healthy for you to explore that a bit further on your own. Our conduit doesn't do a meditation before contacting us. He just opens a channel which we use to communicate with him. But we don't like talking on his behalf. It really disrupts the communication, so we'll avoid answering things for him from now on.
Question. Am I correct in thinking that all advanced civilizations should all be peaceful and their aim is for the betterment of all civilizations? Or are there advanced civilizations who are hostile, and why should they be hostile?
Answer. This goes back to our answer about there being evil aliens or not. There is just so much we cannot communicate or express through our conduit, that it makes it hard answering some of these questions from time to time. But to give it a try, peace as you understand it is not what it means to the universe. You'd think that a planet crushing with another is not peaceful, would you? But for the universe, that's just what it is. Maybe a planet crashing with another is needed for the creation of a new solar system. Therefore, the universe does not live in peace. It's constantly changing, constantly evolving, and what you may call peace is only a brief moment for the universe while it's readjusting what it needs to keep working on. As for aliens, being peaceful or not, that depends on how much in tune they are with the universe. Please keep in mind that being able to travel through space does not necessarily make you a spiritually advanced civilization. It just means you belong to a civilization which figured out how to do interstellar travel. It doesn't mean anything else.
Question. Concerning the Earth's skies at present and the presence of massive amounts of chemical trails being distributed all over the planet by aircraft, what is the real reason and the ultimate agenda? And are rats involved in this? Answer.
Much is going on in your planet, but a lot of it is just fear-driven propaganda to take control of your emotions. We don't want to get involved too much in saying what exactly it is they are spraying in the air, and for sure there have been cases when cities were poisoned in the past through these means. But nowadays a different situation is taking place. We don't want to say too much about it, but if they're trying to poison you, there are some beings who are protecting you and making sure that poison have no effect on you. But we don't want to say this is a global situation. Some group of aliens may be involved in avoiding a bigger catastrophe, but in the end, it truly depends more on you if you're affected or not. You have the power to be unaffected by this so-called chemtrails. And while we don't tell you to ignore them, we advise you not to be afraid of them.
Question. Can someone stop reincarnating at any time? Or is it like a contract?
Answer. Reincarnation is an interesting process which relies on a great number of variants. But to make this a simple answer, reincarnating may depend on you, and it may not. We know our conduit always gets really frustrated with these ambiguous half-given answers, but it is what it is. You may be in a reincarnation cycle that is not up to you. Some of the actions in your past may have made things such you don't get to choose when and into what you reincarnate, because maybe that's a process you have to earn. In other words, getting to a place where you can say I don't want to be reincarnated in this planet anymore, is something you probably will have to earn, or you may have earned already. If that's the case, sure, you don't have to reincarnate anymore if you don't want to. But there's a chance that this is not really up to you.
Question. I'd really like to see a video like the one you just did on Wilcock, but with Benjamin Fulford. Is he living on Earth? Is he being manipulated in any sort of major way by powers that be, and if so, how? Answer.
We have advised our conduit not to do those type of videos, but needless to say, if he does them or not, it's just up to him. About this person you asked. We feel there's a huge confusion about him and what it is he's supposed to be doing on Earth right now. We mostly feel he tried to take on something bigger than he should, and when he saw that it wasn't working for him, he just tried to keep going with the consequences of his actions. We don't like talking about specific people, that's why we mostly prefer not talking about this.
Question. There is a talk in some channels that certain groups of people or beings with strong agendas in this current reality were able to plant some artifacts that are not of this origins or reality, to later be discovered by human civilization and to be thrown off track or confused. Why was it done and by whom, and were they able to achieve their goal?
Answer. Like we said before, we don't like talking about certain people. We also don't like too much talking about too specific situations. Mostly, we're always concerned about the safety of our conduit, and therefore, any answer we feel may put him at risk, we prefer to avoid them. In spite of that, Since he still wants us to try answering your question, it's certain to say that there are many things going on in planet Earth right now that do not belong in the reality of most of its inhabitants. Situations that cannot be fully explained and that don't have much of a relevancy right now for your current state of things. Many attempts are made about changing what's going to take place in your planet in the short future, and it wouldn't surprise us that some elements in your society are trying to change events by means of force or what you would call magic. We have our set of actions to take depending on what goes on, if someone is planning extra-dimensional artifacts or not, if it's something that will directly affect our work, you can be certain we will take care of it. Otherwise, we're just witnesses to everything that goes on around this planet. If they achieve their goal, and if their goal is something that affects the overall result of everything that is taking place, we for certain will take some actions in it.
Question. Hi, I have first a personal question for you, dear. I remember in some of your previous uploads, you were talking about having a hard time with your current financial situation and overall well-being. Were you able to get a handle on that, and did you find a better understanding as to why you are here and what is your purpose in this life? If yes, did it help you to have a better life experiences? I'm talking about better sustenance. Okay, this question was addressed at me directly. I still have a hard time financially, but I am trying not to get too swallowed in that situation. I feel I know what my mission in life is, and apparently, my current hardships may be part of it. Knowing what I'm supposed to be doing has helped me be a better and happier person, but it has not helped me financially, for one reason or another. I don't know if finding your purpose in life is supposed to bring you money or not. I'm still figuring that one out. Question. Could you ask it for me who was that guy's name I was with in my dream, and also if I can bring him into this dimension that I'm in now? And where will we meet at? Will he come to me in my dream again?
Answer. We feel that's a personal question that should be answered by your own set of guides or your own future self. But if we rewire the question to be, can you bring people from your dreams to your real life? Then it's a yes or no answer, which, as we have mentioned before, really irks our conduit. Ha, ha. Sometimes people in your dreams are people actually living on planet Earth, who are having the same dream as you, and in that situation, you actually meeting that person in real life is possible, but it depends on a lot of factors. But more often than not, people you see and visit in other dimensions do belong there, and your only way of being with them is by traveling to that dimension again in your dreams. Now, if that person wants to come to this reality, that's a whole other subject.
Question. Which is the right path that I should take, and will things get better for me?
Answer. Again, like we have mentioned before, personal questions like that are not for us to answer, but you should ask them to your own guides. What is the right path for you is something you have to figure out by yourself. Just know that there is guidance available to you inside yourself. And things getting better for you also depends on what you decide on doing about your own path. Maybe what you're going through right now is precisely what needs to happen so you find your own path. Just don't let these questions get the best of you. Look inside of you and find the answers. And look out just to see if it resonates to what you found inside.
Question. How do you know a soul is from your soul cluster and not a rogue soul trying to do something negative to you?
Answer. This may sound too light for you, but you just know. And the other soul knows. That is the connection. When you find another soul from your group, or another part of your soul in a different body, you know it. It's something that clicks in you, and the other part of you, or the other person of your soul group, also knows it. You just need to talk about it, and realize this yourselves, that some other part of your soul, or component of your soul group is trying to harm you. Not necessarily means that. Maybe you agreed in the past that this person was going to be testing you when you meet again, but that's something you have to figure out by yourself. But we can say, if you don't feel this person is in your soul group, and that person doesn't feel it either, it's highly likely that you're not from the same group at all.
And well, that was everything. It was interesting to be in this process again. Someone asked me how I meditate or what do I do to get in trance or something like that, but that's not the case. I feel I'm always connected to some form of source, but when I want to do these I just focus on that one part one work with when I do this. I just breath deep, relax, imagine 3 rings of light surrounding me that descend from above. I ask to contact my future self, and that I reject any contact from anyone else. It's a little more involved than that, but those are the basics. So, thanks for following these experiments for so long. I'm considering to make one huge file with all these videos, as a sort of farewell to this stage of my life, and then start the new one. For the time, feel free to leave some questions in the comments, but I'd advise for you to wait until I repurpose my entire channel and you see what's the new stuff I have to offer. Hope you will all like it. Be honest in your own truth.